is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is the band Last Crack. That is their new single and a great jam. That one is called Icicle. It's from the new It's from the new release called The Uprising. And on the line right now, we have the vocalist of Last Crack, the one, the only, the mighty Buddo. Buddo, how are you, man?
All right. What a great intro. Thanks, Chris.
Sure. Well, Buddo, I got to tell you a story before we get into this. It'll probably give you a laugh. In 1991, I guess it would have been, I was in the military, and I was stationed in Fort Ord, which is like Central California. And there was a little record store known as Metal Mania. And the guys that ran the store were these death metal heads. All they wanted to listen to was Obituary and Cannibal Corpse and Hellhammer and all this kind of stuff. And I would go into their store all the time, and they would give me all the promos that were not Obituary or Hellhammer or Cannibal Corpse, because they just couldn't handle anything that wasn't that heavy. And that is how I first obtained Burning Time way back when, and I still have the promo, and I have worn it to death. It looks like a scratched up chalkboard at this point, but it's one of those records that always stuck with me, and I as a fan could not be happier that your band is back, man.
That is really cool. I got to say, it's better to look like a scratched up thing that's been used rather than a dartboard of some sort.
No question, man. Well, Buddo, before we get into the new record, I have to ask you, man. I mean, and not to dig up old wounds or whatever, but Burning Time is one of those records. People that heard it still worship it. Anybody that I know that had Burning Time or caught on to Burning Time loves it still to this day. And I have to imagine for you, it's got to be one of those, I don't know, a double-edged sword of sorts. I'm sure you're proud of it. At the same time, I'm sure you look at other bands that maybe took a little piece here and a little piece there and then had huge followings. I'm pointing to Tool, and not because I think they took from you, but they had a similar vibe and, obviously made it huge. For you as a creator, do you look at it as, positive, negative, a little bit of both, or what?
As far as looking back on Burning Time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I really thought that we had kind of reached the limit of, we couldn't do any better. In my mind, I thought it was an incredible album that it just covers so many bases. There's no formula to it. We were free in writing it, and Dave Jordan was awesome in recording it, and he just let us be ourselves in the studio. And so it just seemed like, wow, there's no way that we as a band can top this. It was pretty intimidating, actually.
Sure.
And got to fast forward a few years, and this material that we've worked on now for the past couple of years is, I think, the perfect natural continuation of that Burning Time vibe and essence,
Sure. Do you think back then that maybe you were just a year or two ahead of the curve? Because it does seem like, it seems to me like you guys would have fit so much better into the quote-unquote alternative or grunge sound, and you just, for lack of a better way to market you were mismarketed into the wrong mix.
I got to say, nothing. I'm not talking bad about Roadrunner at all, because
Sure.
I mean, we love those guys.
Sure.
We're still friends with like Kathy Reed and Monty Connor. They took a risk on us.
Mm-hmm.
We were not their typical band either, coming from a King Diamond kind of forte.
Sure.
But they took a risk on us, and I think that they marketed us in that genre that they were kind of comfortable and familiar with. And I remember going on tour we were with Armored Saint and Wrathchild America at the time, and we were basically doing the same nights that Pearl Jam was doing, But Pearl Jam was playing like the smaller, maybe cooler club downtown, and we were kind of out in the suburbs, and at the bowling alleys, at the bigger halls.
Right.
And I was thinking, why? I don't know. I think Last Crack should kind of be in that underground vibe right now, but we weren't. But we did our best with that, and I agree with what you said. I think we were a little bit too much mystique and a little bit too left of center to really know how to handle.
Sure, and it's interesting. I have a friend who might be a mutual acquaintance. I know you've met him, but he actually worked with you guys trying to promote Burning Time, Bob Nalbandian, and Bob to this day, he talks about when he worked with you guys about how he struggled so hard to get people to play it because it just didn't fit any of the traditional places that Roadrunner, Road Racer releases, played to.
For sure. Yeah, we actually went in to talk to a big promotion company in New York, me and Doug Keogh, who was like the general manager, and I was good friends with him, and we actually went to meet this promotions guy, and he was a little stymied by it, and he said, this is going to take a lot of money to make it known. And I think that just kind of, it freaked us out. But what do you do, man? That's the way that Last Crack was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Would a different label have handled it differently? I don't even know what labels would have been back then, but, not SST, but I don't know, Caroline Records. I mean, they took off with the Pumpkins and, White Zombie. They were kind of like, they were busting out of the loop of the, kind of the standard, death metal or thrash metal, that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, Buddo, go ahead. Go ahead.
That was frustrating, I got to say, Chris. Sure. That was when we were on tour. It was frustrating thinking, I wonder where our future is here because it doesn't feel that we're going in the right direction with what we were doing,
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. believe me, as just a fan, as strictly as a fan, I always thought it was criminal that you guys were not getting not only airplay, but the right airplay. It just seemed like there were bands of lesser. I own, I'm a music junkie, and I own pretty much everything that's ever been released that's been popular in my lifetime. And there's an awful lot of records in that 91 to 95 timeline that your record, Burning Time, and even the record before were just so much better than, and people just didn't get to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope that this album, The Uprising, will be some sort of redemption for us. I think it's still timely. I think it's still totally Last Crack.
Sure.
And we've got some people now that are really showing some belief in us, and we want to make that happen.
No question. Well, let's get into The Uprising, Buddo. It's amazing, and dare I say, it's better than Burning Time in a lot of ways. It's everything that I would have wanted. Again, I'm talking like a fan because I really am with your band, but a lot of times when you go into a band that you're really, really a fan of, it comes out to be a letdown after a long break because it's not quite the same energy or it's not quite the same magic formula or whatever it was. This record is 100% what I would have expected from you guys, and at the same time, it has new elements to it which are spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot more vocals on this one.
Sure.
We got to just say it's the band chemistry. We all tried to do different side project with other local musicians around Madison and everything for the past 20 years. We tried. I think Paul and Don and I have been in, like, who knows, 8 to 10 different projects in the past 20 years. But you put us all in a room together, and somehow this chemistry is what it is. And even time away doesn't change that. And so there's a tension, there's a little bit of angst, but there's also like this kind of a brotherly love where we want to make it work, even though we're gonna ram head against each other on
Right.
it sometimes.
No question. And you know, I have to imagine that a lot of that has to come with a lot of that tension probably comes from I'm gonna think it comes from you because you seem like you're a very emotional lyric writer. It seems like you write very much from the heart, and I would imagine that if the music that you're hearing doesn't match what you're thinking, you fight to the death to keep what you're hearing in your head, you know, in perspective.
Maybe my personality is too boisterous. I've been told that. I'm told that, you know, quite a bit. But when it comes to Last Crack writing, I mean, Paul is kind of like the riff factory. He's got just this stockpile of incredible guitar riffs, and then I memorize these riffs that he does, and I loop them over and over, and then I kind of like construct an arrangement of sorts, and then the lyrics and the melody come last. I'm listening for the content of the music first, but Paul's like this incredible gold mine of guitar riffs, and so I have quite a bit of control, I guess, when it comes to like what's ending up in the final version of the song, because, you know, I'm going to be boisterous and, you know, say this part's perfect with this part and this one's got to be a bridge and here's my melody. And somehow I'm able to convince them, you know, most of the time.
Sure. Well, it's definitely working here. And let's talk about the first single, Icicle. It's like you said, there's a lot more vocals on it, and there's a lot of depth mixed all together in it. It builds, but at the same time, it's not like a slow build. It like builds up, and it's like roller coaster riding, kind of the way you put your vocals, man. It's just a cool tune.
Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, we've been trying to get everybody on a mic here to do the chorus of Icicle because there is a lot going on. It's supposed to be like a hypnotic chant. You know, I mean, ideally, I would love to hear everybody at our show singing it, you know?
Sure. No question, man. Well, another song that stands out to me is the song Blame. It's so dark and it's real, and unless I'm reading it wrong, it's very today lyrically. Is it that way? Is it kind of a look at like the society or social media or the amalgamation of the two, you know, to where everybody's looking to blame everybody instead of, you know, holding oneself accountable?
Dude, that's kind of one of the tricks that I do when I write lyrics. I try to make it at least 2 levels deep, you know? Mm-hmm. So with Blame, this is a song about, our whole society, our system, but it's also about how Last Crack works.
Okay.
It's a very personal look into Last Crack.
Very cool, man. Now, another really, really strong one. They're all pretty strong, but another one that I'm finding to like a lot, and I'm curious what it's about because I just, you know, don't know for sure, is the song Passenger. It's an addictive song to kind of listen to and sing along to, but not sure where you were going with it. What was your mindset on that one?
Okay, well, here's the 2 levels, the 2 front levels in my mind. Number one is we have to realize that we don't have a lot of control in our lives. So there's a spiritual aspect to it, okay? Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to go with, I call it the Tao, right?
Sure.
Go with that flow. That's how you're a passenger. But also, it's interesting you would use the word addiction because it is about, it could be about drugs. It could be about marijuana. It could be about something that you give yourself to that you allow to guide you.
Wow. And is that personal experience or personal with somebody you know-ish or just an overview?
Actually, I have a person in mind who
okay.
I say it's her song, but yeah, I wouldn't want to publicly say it.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a person in mind.
Okay.
It's her story.
Sure. Well, but one of the things that's very different from the last time we had a record from Last Crack till now is the technology. It's completely, it's obviously a million times different. And I have to think that for a band like yours that is much more into creating mental pictures and imagery, that the ability to do that today without the $500,000 cost is something that you guys might be able to really craft and use better than other bands. Fair?
Yeah, just the whole arena of recording now is so much, you could say easier. I don't know. Technology made it more convenient and easier, I think. You're not cutting tape. You have, endless tracks to work with, and we're lucky that we have Paul as our basically engineer and producer. I mean, Schluter did all this stuff in his studio, Megatone in Madison. And, there's a good thing and a bad thing to that. Like with Burning Time, we spent 6 weeks at El Dorado Studio recording with Dave Jordan. When you have the luxury of your own, quote, studio and you're doing it yourself, it's a little harder to stay, on deadline or
Sure.
to push yourself to come with results, maybe if you don't feel they're ready. So that's another thing. I mean, Paul likes to take his time, and he likes to give it air. I mean, he would like to work on it and then not work on it for however many days or whatever to get a fresh ear on it and then come back on it. And so that stretches out your time frame, but you're going to get a certain quality that you're not going to get if you're forced to do something in a lockdown deadline,
Right. As a vocalist, does that leave you doing what every other vocalist I've ever met has done, which is sitting there and being happy with it today, but then living with it for a little bit and then not being as happy with it tomorrow?
It's really weird because, like, again, with Burning Time with Dave, I did my vocals in 3 days at that studio, and I'm a real cerebral singer, so I analyze the songs in my mind constantly, and I kind of know exactly where I want to be on it, and so I always try to go for a first take.
Okay.
And with Dave, that kind of worked. There were some lines we had to go over a few times, but he changed some of my intonations. But with Paul, he approaches it differently. He feels like he wants to make every performance the possible best it could be. So I'll come in and sing my lines, and I'm like, dude, that's it. That's my take. It's exactly what I heard in my head. He said, well, I want 5 more of each of those lines. Because,
Right.
dude, you're warming up, and you're going to sing something different. I need more options to work with when it comes down to mix. So it ends up to be like a marathon of singing,
Right.
But, yeah, so I don't know. That's the thing. I try to get stuff as I picture it in my head. But, Paul and I worked on that. We've come to a compromise. We both agree, okay, if the third take is like equal to the first, then we're going to move on,
Sure. No question, man. And a lot of that probably comes from the fact that, you guys have known each other for so long now, too. You both kind of really, you almost can read each other without actually vocalizing it these days, no?
Yeah, for sure. Did I correctly answer your question on that last one?
You did, absolutely.
Okay.
It's one of those things. Everybody's so different creatively, and for some bands, I've talked to 1,000,005 bands, and some of them have very distinct habits. A lot of vocalists. Rob Halford is one that I interviewed, and he has an exact process that he follows. It has to go do this, then do this, then do this. And then there's others that don't. And I personally, as somebody that has listened to your previous records 1,000,005 times and find the lyrics to be so telling, I had this one picture in my mind that you would probably be different than what you just said, where you said that you like to go into it, just knock down one take. If you'd have asked me 25 minutes ago, I'd have said, yeah, I'll bet you he does 400 takes of everything because it doesn't sound perfect to what
No, man, that's all in the mind. It really is. I think it's all about homework. like for now these lyrics for the Uprising.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few of the songs, like maybe 3 or 4 that I had the lyrics for that I held on to for this album. I mean, that's been kind of sitting in a demo state for a few years. But as far as like the other 7 tunes on this album, I mean, I just got into a meditative state. I'd go for long walks and play these songs over and over with no words, no lyrics, no melodies, just the music over and over. And all of a sudden, these melodies start to arise, and then they assign themselves words. And then, God, it's just like a hypnotic meditation where it just kind of writes itself, you know?
Wow. Yeah. I wish I had that kind of creativity, man. Because I certainly don't. I write books outside of doing this, and believe me, I wish I could just kind of concentrate for a minute and then just spit it out. That would be lovely. Well, one more tune I wanted to ask you about, Buddo, is the song "Golden Age," and lyrically it's a cool song, but musically it is maybe the most diversified song that you guys have ever done. It really ebbs and flows all over the place and takes some really hard turns.
Yeah, it does. That one was probably the last one that I wrote lyrics to because I was just not sure what I was going to do with this arrangement. And then all of a sudden this kind of rap, kind of like a chant rap started popping in my head on that verse. And then I thought, since it had to be kind of like this high tension mantra, that I'm going to bring some religious images into this. And so I just started like making it a reading list of these awesome religious texts, you know, and that led to Golden Age, man, where the Golden Age is coming, but not for everyone, right? And
Right.
It might not be the people who think that they're going to be there.
No question, man. Well, Buddo, you've got Uprising. It comes out May 31st. Will you guys get to tour with it, or are you going to try and get like festivals or play some shows around the country, or what does that look like?
We're hoping so. Right now, Tom Hazard from EMP is throwing out the lines, getting some various ideas going for shows or maybe shorter tours.
Okay.
We've got a couple offers to go to Europe to play some festivals. I mean, we're hoping that we can let this kind of take us over here and do this.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, as one fan, I will say, if you come to Cleveland, you'll have one ticket for sure sold.
Were you at the show that the fire started?
I was not. I was living out in California when you guys. The only time you guys ever toured, I was living in California.
Okay.
So no,
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It was the first night of our tour with Armored Saint, and I thought, we're here on Burning Time, so why not just start a little fire on stage? And so, yeah, I took a trash can lid and put some newspaper on it, and when we kicked into Burning Time, I lit that up, and the whole band, we got sprayed by a fire extinguisher from the Armored Saint drum tech. We're all covered in white powdery dust, and oh my God, I didn't do that again.
No question. That's really funny. Well, Buddo, the new record, as we said, it's called Uprising. It is being released May 31st on EMP Records. You can get it wherever you buy music these days. And as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from the record, maybe tell us a story about it. So what would you like us to wrap this one up with?
Oh, let me see. You've mentioned some good ones. Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. You got me stymied here, Chris.
Hardest question of the day.
Let's just do Golden Age, man, because that one carries all the elements of a typical Last Crack journey.
All right. Well, let's check it out right now. It's Golden Age. It is Last Crack, exclusively here on your Classic Metal Show.